Hey Fidelity Fortune Hunters. In this video, we're going to continue our series on Active Trader Pro by drilling down on the Quotes and Watch List tab. That's this one right here, and show you how to really boost your trading skills by using the watch list components. Before we do that, we're going to quickly review some issues about the scanner and the screener that's under the News and Research tab, and we're also going to give you some updates on that Fibonacci drawing tool. So, hope this is of interest. If so, hold on to your hat and we'll get started right after this. Okay, Fortune Hunters, quickly before we begin our drill down on the watch list area here in Quotes and Watch List and this major tab, I'd like to cover just a quick couple of things in review. They connect back to the News and Research screener area and also the Fibonacci tool that we did in a video just over the weekend. If you are new to our material, you can find all of our 20 or so videos on Fidelity ATP on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/user/vineyardfx. There's a picture of that or a shot of it in the last screen on this video, and I'll also put a link down in the description below. Okay. The question that came up was on the limitation of the Fidelity Fibonacci retracement tool, and the bottom line is it only does retracements. It doesn't do what I call extensions. Now, what I mean by that is in traditional Fibonacci work, you would go from a beginning point A to another point B, which would indicate an upward thrust. Then you would have a pullback from B to C, and this C point would probably be 38.2, a 38% pullback, a 50% pullback, or the golden Fibonacci ratio 61.8, and that would be in the three bands that we showed you in our video last time. Now, what happens in traditional Fibonacci work is that you would have an extension in the direction of the original trend. That can happen to the upside, it can happen to the downside. A to B, back to C, same ratios, 38.2, 50, perhaps 61.8. Anything above that is kind of like, the opposite team is having their way with us. Then you would get your extension to the downside in the traditional way, okay? Down here once again. Now, these ratios are the ones I've shown you before. 127, 161.8, which in Fidelity I've rounded off to 162 and so forth. Now the problem with Fidelity here is that you can't do the extension like this. There is no way to enter a negative number into the input screen. So in fact what you end up with is this is what you can do. You can enter a number and input like 127, but it would be up in this area above here. So that what it means is A to B, B to a pullback or retracement, and then a continuation of the retracement until you have a reversal of the trend. If you put in 127, it would be the reverse of this plus 27%. And if you put in the 162, it would be 62% higher than this particular move here. Now, that's quite helpful as the market's been going up. For example, you could come from here to here. Let's take a quick peek at this. Once again, we are going to get to our original idea about the watch list, but let's just check this out. Here we have a pull down into this area. Okay, and what we'd like to see is if we can remove the 23.6. I just think that's a mess. Then what you have here are three lines in the middle, right? Now what we're going to do is put the 162 here for the to mimic our 161.8. We're going to add a value and we're going to apply it, and you can see here exactly how powerful this can be. If you were to add, let's say we're going to go to 200. Because this is the way some of these individual securities are moving. This was Ford Motor Company, by the way. Here's your 200. And this was quite a nice move into that area here. Then you can also add 300 if you'd like, because the market's been red hot for sure. Add value and then apply. And where did we turn out? Up in this area here. 200. I guess 300 is too far away. Let's try that again. Sorry for holding you up here. We're going to put 300 in here and see how far it goes. That would be 3 times the, actually twice the original move. Add a value and apply. And in fact, that means that over here is where we finally ended up getting the 300. Quite an interesting situation. We got up to this level, then we failed. So that had been about 250, right? And so then we pulled back and we actually touched upon this high before the move occurred, before we had this launch of our price up into the, now for Ford it was $9.78, big deal, right? But on a percentage basis, a significant move higher. Okay, so that really concludes our issue of trying to tell you what the difference is between the extension tool that you could have in other trading platforms like TradeStation or MetaTrader or Thinkorswim or whatever, where they would give you an opportunity to do the extension versus the limitation of that Fidelity tool, which only allows you to go with an increased retracement idea. Okay, so good stuff. Now, here's another of the charts that I wanted to show you. We'll pull it up. This is a company called ITOS, and as you know, we can do our opacity settings, so I could show you a little bit more about it. ITOS is Itios Therapeutics and a cancer drug company, basically, I found out. I found this from my screening capabilities, and you can see it has nice moves with our moving averages. It has the ability to take advantage of our RSI tool with the 45-55 band and so forth. When you get your twists up, typically what you have is a pullback into the bands and then a move higher. Okay, now what I wanted to show you here in the watch list area was as follows. If we come to watch list, we have several things we can do. If you come to this tool and you haven't opened it before, and you come down to watch lists, you're going to be finding that your futures and indices are going to be already populated by default. You don't have to do anything about this. You can plug on indices, and Fidelity has already populated that for you. If you would like to choose one of the watch lists that you've already created, you simply pick from the list and click on it. If you want more than that, you can go to Manage, which is over in this corner here. We're going to Manage. We're going to create a new watch list, potentially, or in the area, we can't edit the indices or the ones that Fidelity's given us by default, but if we were to go to another one like ours, I came up with a list of battery companies for the EV market, and that was also based on reading some articles and doing some scanning of various industry sectors. And so in this area here, I put AXP in, and I'll explain to you why in a second, but here were some of the companies involved in the lithium craze. And so basically the idea is if you want to manage this list, we have to come over to Manage, Edit. You can see it's different from those futures and indices I showed you where they don't allow you to edit. You can add or remove columns. You can edit the watch list. Now, AXP, American Express, doesn't belong here. So if we were to come here, we'd get our edit. There's the title of our watch list. And let's come here and simply black out AXP and then apply. Notice that it's now disappeared from the list, and now we have our pure battery company list. If you would like to create a new watch list, here's where you go. If you want to get rid of this one entirely, that's fine. Let's come now to the other issue, which is add and remove columns. Okay, now what you can do is you can use this, which is a traditional way to click over here and then move it to the other side, and then use these tools to move it up or down and change your columns that way, right? The other way that you can do it is simply to come here, right click and add a column or remove a column. Of course, you can float the window too, but let's say this is a watch list and we would like to make some modifications to it. You can see here there's a 52-week range. Let's say we don't care about that one. Let's simply remove that column. And sure enough, it's gone. Now, in most cases, you're going to use, if you buy some of these securities, you're going to use your another tool up in here in the accounts area to keep track of your portfolio. You can have your portfolio watch list, but let's get rid of quantity. Right now, we'll get rid of that. We'll remove that column. We'll remove purchase price. And obviously, if you remove the purchase price, you don't have to worry about value or today's GL or any of these other numbers. And the reason that I'm saying that to you is we'd probably like to get over here into this area where we could see earnings date, because that's more relevant to us. Now, you can move it here in this area as well as in that other area that I showed you, and we'll go back to that in a second. Let's move earnings date over here just prior to news. And sure enough, there it is right now, and we have a day range. And then the rest of this is sort of irrelevant. So if you move your slide bar down here, back over again, you can see that all the information here is available to you. Sometimes these are missing the description. You can, in fact, add a description that gives you the name. I would also like to say that when I've come up with some securities for which I didn't really know the company before, you can come here to the notebook area and you can add a notebook. And here's chemicals for lithium, for example, just so you can keep track of it. Home Solar Solutions. This is a company, Enphase Energy, that makes not only solar panels and so forth, but also devices to manage the whole solar experience in the home environment, so tying into the grid and so on and so forth, Here was a company in Brazil in mining the minerals that are used in lithium production. So that's that one. Now, this is pretty helpful, this news column. If some news occurs about these companies, you can find it over here. And you can also, and let me come to an example of this. I'm going to switch playlist for you here just for a second. I move this over so you can see more clearly. If I click here, come down to watch lists, I come to Tom's Tech Symbols. This is quite a long one that I've used. And I wanted to show you that in this area here, we may want to add, we can come to symbol and change this around. I wanted to show you BDC, Belden Incorporated, because they had an earnings date that was earlier than this. I'm going to show you their stock chart in a second. They just had their earnings on the 10th of February. Now, this has been updated to show you when the next quarterly report is going to come in. And real-time analytics here would have to do with technicals. That's not what we're interested in. Let's take a look here at this news area under Belden Corporation. Belden takes home Emmy Award for hybrid electrical and fiber camera, blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to get some positive publicity because last week they didn't have much, believe you me. Now let me show you what I'm talking about here. And we come down and let's get rid of this for the time being. And we're going to come back up to this area and we're going to add Belden in, BDC. I'm going to show you about their chart. And you can see up here in this area that we had a significant fall off at the date of the earnings back here. They also changed their treasurer and CFO. They had some really kind of negative news also from Vanguard in terms of a security filing. So in that case, here was your run into earnings, which was significant, but I wanted to show this chart because it surely shows you that you're not going to want to be buying when you're outside of the bands to this level. So this would be the area where it was 15-20% above your 20-day moving average, and as a result of that, up in this area, it's pretty dangerous to be buying. So what you'd like to do is find one that is in this upward facing mode, but has pulled back into the vans, and that's why you'd like to maybe add it to your watch list. Now let's come back to the watch list one quick more time here. Tom's Tech Symbols. It comes up. Here's Belden Corporation, and they do wiring for local area networks and so forth. Bottom line is, if you click here, You can also see, well, I've got to move it over for you a little bit. If you come over to this one, Belden Corporation here, and this, what I call the invisible icon, if you come down here to news, you can see a variety of recent news announcements. This is the one we just saw that was plugged into their real-time news announcement alert. Now, if we come down here, Goldman Sachs adjusts Biden's price target down to 35. Holy smoke. Here was the SEC filing by Janus. They were also moving money in and out. Here was Belden announces a new CFO. So involved in all of this, here was the Vanguard filing on the day of the earnings announcement, and here were their adjusted earnings. So all of these things can give you a very good picture, obviously after the fact, but if you're finding that there's been a move in a stock, a dramatic move one direction or another, this would be an opportunity for you to check out exactly what's happening and why. Okay, so let's go through these quickly again. If we'd like to add or remove a column, we right click and we get our list. If we would like to see a heat map as opposed to a list configuration, I can show you that, and you can see the different work here. Obviously, NVIDIA's taken a hit here in the chip sector today. Okay, so we come back to the list and we come down to NVIDIA and find out this is what's happened. We're down as of Friday, down 1.9%, $11 price target. Was there any news? And there was no news at that point, but here we have, and obviously NVIDIA has just been volatile. But let's take a look at the NVIDIA news feed and so forth. In a probe into NVIDIA's acquisition of ARM on Bloomberg, Alphabet, blah, 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 protest the ARM acquisition, and so obviously they came under assault in terms of price last Friday. And so that's very helpful to you just in terms of very quickly being able to identify what the problem was with the security. And in fact, also here, we can come to the next thing I wanted to share with you, which is let's pull up a chart of this. You do not have to go back up here and put the symbol in. I'm going to open this up a bit by pulling it this way. Now, if you get something crazy like this, all you have to do is remember that you come to this icon here, and notice we're way squashed over in this area, so we want to come back this way and pull, and now we get ourselves into a better situation. Now, NVIDIA had a big move to the north, but you can see this move last Friday was a pullback into the bands, and based on the news release that we had about their acquisition of an ARM supplier. Okay, so let's take a quick break, and then we'll get back over into the last element I wanted to show you on the screener side of things. Okay, once again, quickly, the question that was unresolved for me until the weekend was as follows. Let's pull up my screens, because typically one of the things you'd like to be able to do is to automatically transfer some of the new discovered symbols over into your watch list without having to do that manually. Obviously, that's at least my intention, so as to save some work. Now, what we found was that when we did our price off the 20-day moving average, common stock, and sector industry financial, we found that we had these 10 matches. So that was a reasonable list, and we might want to either add that to a new watch list entirely to keep track of it, or maybe you just want to take a couple of symbols that hadn't popped up yet, like AXP, and perhaps, as I mentioned, investors' title for whatever reason, and we'd like to go back up here, and we'd like to say, okay, let's take action on those which we selected, and we selected by clicking on them. And what we might want to do here is to add to a watch list. And then you come over here to Go, and you click on Go, and up comes an opportunity for you to select your watch list. Now, you have to have created it before you can come here, so you can't create from this position. So if you created a new one which said Screen Ideas, or screener ideas that would pop up here. Let me show you what I mean by that. See, I've got screener here. I also have financials. And so the point was that when I clicked on this, and then I said down here below, where did it go? Let me see where it is here. I'll try to pull this up for you. Add to the list, right? We'll forget about alerts for right now. Just add to the list. When I came back to my watch list, what I discovered was that it didn't do any good. Okay, so if we come to Tom's tech symbols, that's not the one we want. Let's come up to screener. I'm sorry, we'll go to auto industry first. Then we'll come down to financials, watch list financials. And you'll notice that AXP isn't here. So I'm saying to myself, well, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? I'm giving you this detail last in the video for those of you who are loyal and have watched this long. It's very simply a bug in the program. You have to log out for the time being, and when you log back into Fidelity, which we won't do now because it takes a couple minutes, when you log back in, it should be in your list, and it's on their list of to-dos to try to make that automatic rather than by having to log out and then log back in. At the very least, you can add it to your watch list automatically, but you do have that additional step to take, and I hope that helps in your planning. So, as usual, if this is of interest to you, subscribe to our channel. Give us a like. Don't be stingy. Hit the bell next to subscribe if this material is helpful and you'd like to be alerted when we post a new video. Good luck with your ATP trading after the holiday and during the holiday week. I know many of you may be off this week, and as a result, you have some opportunity to play around with these things. That's why I tried to get all three done so that you'd have plenty of time to experiment. Leave a comment if you have a question or an idea for a new video. And once again, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you next time.